देवी सर्वभूतेषु लक्ष्मीरूपेण संस्थिता नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः या देवी सर्वभूतेषु श्रद्धारूपेण संस्थिता नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः या देवी सर्वभूतेषु लक्ष्मीरूपेण संस्थिता नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः या देवी सर्वभूतेषु श्रद्धारूपेण संस्थिता नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः या देवी सर्वभूतेषु क्षमारूपेण संस्थिता नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः या देवी सर्वभूतेषु दयारूपेण संस्थिता नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः या देवी सर्वभूतेषु दयारूपेण संस्थिता नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः या देवी सर्वभूतेषु लक्ष्मीरूपेण संस्थिता नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः कर्पूरगौरं करुणावतारं संसारसारं भुजगेन्द्रहारं कर्पूरगौरं करुणावतारं संसारसारं भुजगेन्द्रहारं सदा वसन्तं हृदयारविन्दे भवं भवानी सहितं नमामि सदा वसन्तं हृदयारविन्दे भवं भवानी सहितं नमामि।
Welcome to Satsang. Welcome to this beautiful evening on the banks of Mother Ganga. Such a joy to gather together. This is a time in which we drop deeply together in Sangha. It's what Satsang means, is it's that association, that presence, that Sangha of truth, but of the highest, deepest truth. So it's such a joy to drop deep together in this time. We begin, as always, with a question that comes from our family joining us from online, from all over the world. And then we'll open it up to any questions that anyone here has. So don't be shy. I usually have very clearly defined boundaries. And sometimes I feel like a very unempathetic person. What can I do to improve this? And this is asked by, well, I have an Instagram handle, but it's hard to tell what the name is. So we'll just say our family member joining us from abroad via Instagram. So, boundaries and empathy. Our boundaries are not meant to keep us from being empathic or connected. Boundaries should not be walls. I know it's the word that we use, and I'm not super attached to changing vocabulary, but I do think it's worth looking at, because the word boundary, we do usually use it in other contexts to mean a big wall, like a boundary wall around my property, or a boundary wall between, our country and the next country, and they're thick and they're impenetrable. They're solid, they don't move. When we talk about having good boundaries, we don't mean erect a solid, impenetrable wall between yourself and the rest of existence. That is not what boundaries have ever meant to be. There is no spiritual teaching I know of in any religion that says, cut yourself off from everyone else. Don't feel, don't care, don't empathize. It's the opposite. Spirituality is that connects us. Spirituality is that tells us basically, you and I are not separate. Your pain is my pain. Your joy is my joy. What boundaries are for, so that's what boundaries are not. When we talk about healthy boundaries, what they really mean is that my autonomy, my agency over my personal dharma, the actions I'm going to take, the choices I'm going to make, the decisions I'm going to make, the path I'm going to walk, is made due to an internal sense of knowing, much more than due to pressure from the outside. It means that I'm not going to give in to manipulation. I'm not going to give in to pressure. I'm not going to give in to guilt to do something that is in violation of either my values, my ethics, my morals, or something that is in violation of my dharma. But it doesn't mean that I'm cut off. It doesn't mean I don't care. It doesn't mean I don't have compassion. It just means I have clarity. So many of us, myself included, have experienced moments, for example, in our families, whether families of origin, whether families of marriage, in which we are called into a spiritual life, and there's pressure to make a different choice. There's pressure to not be in a spiritual life, whether it's pressure to, in my case, not move to an ashram, not become a celibate monastic, whether it's pressure in other people's cases to literally just not spend your morning meditating, but do something else. Not spend your evenings meditating, do something else. I remember a conversation I had with my mother in the very early days. I was back in Los Angeles visiting, and I'd been in India maybe a year or two, possibly 3. It was the early beginning days. And she said, your dad would really like to go for dinner and a movie together tonight. All of us, all 3 of us. And I knew, of course, my dad had not said it because I know my dad very well, but I also knew my mom well, and I knew that her best way to get me to do things was to say my dad wanted it. So I said, why don't we do this? Because at that point, I wasn't eating in restaurants, and I certainly wasn't going to movies. So I said, look, let's do this. you want to go for dinner, I'll come to dinner with you. And in my mind, I'm thinking, I'll have some fruit, I'll have a salad, I'll, have a piece of bread and butter, whatever it is. I said, let's go to dinner, but let's take 2 cars so that after dinner, you guys can go to the movies and I'll go home. It was, pre-Uber days. So I said, I'll go home in 1 car, you guys take the other car to the movies. So she says, no, it's really important to your dad that you also come to the movies. So I said, okay, I'll come. I said, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring my laptop and I'll sit in the lobby and I'll work while you people watch the movie. And she says, no, it's really important to your dad that you sit in that dark movie theater with us watching the movie. And I smiled and I said, look, I'll do it. You want 2 hours of my life, you've got it. I will happily give it to you. I said, but you have to know that I'm doing it just for you, not because you've somehow convinced me that I really want to do it. And she said, well, what's the problem with the movie? Why? Are movies bad, wrong, why? I said, no, not at all. I said, but I'm so early. I'm still so much in the beginning stages of my meditation that sitting in a movie, I'm going to get engrossed. I'm going to totally get lost in the story of the movie. And I'm not yet a strong enough meditator that I could be in the middle of a movie and still have my mantra chanting, still remember who I am, who I'm not. I said, I don't want to lose 2 hours and forget who I am. I said, maybe in a few years or, whenever it happens, my meditation will be strong enough that I can sit in a movie and also still remember who I am at the same time. But I'm not there yet. And I share this story with you because all of us who have chosen a spiritual path, I did end up going to the movies with them, by the way, for the evening. But all of us who have been on a spiritual path have experienced some level of pressure, of persuasion, of manipulation even by family members, by blood or marriage, close friends, society, to make different choices. Whether it's a choice about becoming a monastic, whether it's a choice about how you spend the evening. Having good boundaries simply means I am able to maintain agency and autonomy over myself without being pulled, pushed, squished mentally, physically into something that is not the path that I want to be on. And whether it's an issue of values, morals, ethics, or whether it's just an issue of priorities and path. That's what boundaries are about. Boundaries are never meant to be erect a solid brick wall between you and the world. Don't feel, don't care, don't be connected. No, we were never taught that. So if you feel like you normally have good boundaries, but you are also unempathetic, what it means to me is you are erecting walls rather than healthy boundaries. The boundary enables me to grow and to blossom. When I think of boundaries, I think about like the tree guards that we put up around tree saplings to prevent the dogs or the monkeys or the cows from eating the saplings. And they're needed in the beginning because otherwise the dogs and the monkeys and the cows will eat the saplings, and the saplings will never grow into the tree. And of course, by the time the saplings become the tree, the dogs come up and pee on it, the monkeys swing from the branches, the cows lie in its shade, and nothing impacts the tree. Boundaries are meant to be that which separates us or disconnects us or cuts us off, but simply that which enables us to be in a way like that tree sapling of I need in this way at this time to be self-protective in this way, and then at a different time in a different way. It's so that we don't end up with our lives just kind of pulled away from us in our focus, in our energy, in our values, in our priorities. My mom called me up at one point, many years later, when I was just on the verge of taking sannyas. She calls me up and she says, I just have to tell you, she said, I had a dream last night. I said, yeah? She said, and I dreamed that you married one of these monks from the Hare Krishna temple in Venice. Unclear on the concept of what a monk meant, but anyway, that's a separate story. So she says, I had this dream that you married one of these monks from the Hare Krishna temple there, because, in LA, you see a lot the Hare Krishna community, and it's beautiful, and I always loved going to their restaurants. And so she said, I had this dream that you married one of the monks from there, and you had these really cute little Hare Krishna babies. and it was very sweet. And she said, so I just have to tell you, it's not the religion that's the issue. It's, Now, if I didn't have boundaries, I would say, oh, God. And I would feel awful and I would hate myself of like, how dare I not give my mother these children, these grandchildren who she wants so badly. And I would feel awful. I would feel guilty. I might even make different decisions in my life. But having boundaries doesn't mean that I can't empathize. It doesn't mean that I can't be compassionate. It doesn't mean I can't be understanding. And I ended up, just as a epilogue of that particular story, I actually ended up quite literally saying to her, okay, because I'm an only child. And I said, okay. I said, here is the deal I will make with you. Once I take sannyas, these vows of renunciation, there's no going back. It's an official, I have sworn to God, I have sworn to Ganga. There's no going back. I said, but I haven't taken the vow yet. I said, if you really want a grandchild, I will give you 9 months of my life. I said, I will go out. I will get pregnant. I will carry a child. And then I will give that child to you. I said, I will do that for you. I have not yet taken vows against it. If that's really what you want, tell me now, because I will give that to you. And she thought about it, and she came back and she said, no, I don't want to be a mother again. I want to be a grandmother. But I share the story in this discussion around boundaries and empathy. For me, I was prepared, even within my boundaries of autonomy, of agency, of my dharma, I was prepared to give her 9 months to carry a child to term. Okay, whether I take vows in June or in the following March, ultimately it's irrelevant. And to do that for her, okay. But no, I won't give you the next 20 years of my life. I'm not going to move back to LA and raise this child down the block from you so that you can have this agenda fulfilled. That's not my dharma. Not that there's anything wrong with it. It certainly sounded, in her mind like a beautiful thing, nothing wrong with it. But it's just not my Dharma. So boundaries don't mean that we are unreasonable. It doesn't mean we're not compassionate. It doesn't mean we won't compromise ever. It doesn't mean that we are stuck and stubborn. It just means that we're really clear about what is my path, what are my values, what are my ethics. And we all discover there's certain things we'll compromise on, certain things that we won't. Certain places where there's room, there's spaciousness, there's flexibility. Certain places there's not. But a wall just separates you. And that's not spiritual. So if you've built walls instead of boundaries, let them come down. And instead, let your boundary be rooted in yes rather than no. No will come automatically. If the yes is really clear, the no will also be clear. But instead of being rooted mostly in no, try to be rooted in yes. What are you saying yes to? And allow that boundary to grow out of what are you saying yes to. Automatically those yeses will take up enough space and time and energy that things become no anyway. But from a perspective, an internal spiritual perspective, chart your life and draw these boundaries as much as possible from a place of yes. Yes to your path, yes to your knowing. Yes to your ability to be compassionate. Yes to your ability to share, to give. But in a way that's in alignment. Not in a way that's giving in to someone else's manipulation or agenda or pressure or whatever it is. So I hope that helps to clarify the distinction, and then you can have great boundaries and be really empathic at the same time. Because ultimately, they're both really important positives in our lives. Great. Other questions? Any question that anyone has? There's a microphone right here. Yes, you don't have to wait for me to call on you. Come. Okay, yeah, I see your fingers pointing at her. Come. Come, sweetie.
It's okay. My name's Divyana. I'm from Malaysia. My question was, yesterday we were walking on the road and then there was a dog sitting peacefully there. Then a motorbike ran over the dog's leg and he laughed at the dog. I was so mad and I didn't know how to show my anger. I accidentally showed it to my mom, but then she calmed me down. Then eventually we helped the dog get back to normal. So yeah, that's my question. How can I control my anger in that situation? Thank you.
So you asked one question, but I'm going to actually give you two separate answers because there's two pieces. The first, as you're absolutely right, to control your anger. Whatever the situation is, we never want to lose ourselves. Because then we say things that we later regret. We do things that we later regret. we end up having to say things like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, that wasn't me. Or we end up engaging in actions that are fueled in blindness. I mean, there's a reason that people say blind rage. Anger really, it blinds us. And it's why so many of the wrong actions, we were talking the other night, somebody asked about sin, and I was saying we don't really believe in sin in that way. We believe more in ignorance and forgetfulness. And it's why so many of those actions that do give us these negative repercussions, what we call bad karma, so many of those actions are done when we are really angry. We have to suffer the karmic consequences anyway, but anger is one of those states that makes us forget. When we're angry at a loved one, we say, I hate you, and later we're like, oh my God, how could I have said that? I love you so much, I'm so sorry. I was just angry. So you definitely want to control the anger. The best way to do that, in that moment, we'll talk about prevention in a second, but in that moment, the anger is there. The best way to come out of anger in that moment is your breath. It's the fastest, most direct, most effective way to literally come back into yourself. Breathe very low, like right down here below your belly button. You have a very powerful energy center called the Swadhisthana chakra. Breathe in it. So instead of feeling like you breathe up here, breathe down here. Low. Breathe slowly. Longer exhalations. So if you inhale on 3, exhale on 6. So you're going 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It decreases our sympathetic nervous system arousal, and it increases our parasympathetic nervous system. It immediately calms us, it grounds us, it anchors us. Practices like meditation, mindfulness are really great preventatives for it, because the more mindful you are, then you start to notice that you are getting angry before you're really angry. You start to see it basically from like a mile away. You're like, oh yeah, just when your blood starts to begin to get a little warm, long before it's boiling, you notice the fire is on. And because you can notice it so early on, you have the power to turn it off. If we wait until we are boiling with anger, it's really hard to stop it. So mindfulness, and it's a beautiful practice, it enables us to notice things are arising: anger, ego, ignorance, separation, judgment, greed, lust, whatever it is. But we start to notice it in the beginning of its genesis. The first thought of greed is arising. I see something, and immediately I become aware that the mind is coveting it. The mind wants it. Or maybe it's lust arising. You see it, you want it. Or maybe it's anger. You see it, it makes you angry. But you start to become aware of things so early that you don't lose yourself in any of them. However, there's a second piece to your question. There are some things in this world that actually deserve to be angry about. animals being harmed, people being harmed, nature being harmed, harm being done to any of this beautiful life with which we share this planet. We should be angry at that. You absolutely should be angry that this person did that to the dog. But you should be angry in what we speak about more like a righteous anger sort of way, where you haven't lost yourself. In the type of anger we normally have, we become unconscious. We say things, we do things, we're not present, we're not there. Righteous anger is like harnessing energy, but it's harnessing it for good, and it's harnessing it to make a difference. Anger can be a very powerful catalyst. And if people being mean to animals makes you angry, use that anger. Don't let the anger use you. So allow yourself to learn how to not be swept up in the anger so that you're not with high blood pressure and high pulse rate and high cholesterol. I mean, you're too young for that to impact you in a very negative way. But as you grow, eventually, if you don't get control over it, some doctor is going to tell you, you really need to stop being so angry all the time because your blood pressure and your cholesterol and whatnot. But notice that the anger is there and actually use it. It's like when that anger arises, instead of letting it take over you, really visualize yourself like putting it into a safe place. You're not repressing it, you're not suppressing it, you're not denying it, you're not telling yourself, don't be angry. You're not saying it's, not good. Think about it like an anger piggy bank. Like you're going to need that energy later on. So whenever you get angry about those sorts of things, put it in your anger piggy bank. And then figure out what you're going to do. How can you take a stand against cruelty to animals? How can you take a stand for animal rights? And the answer is going to be different today than it is 5 years from now when you get older and you have more experience and resources. And then it's going to be different 5 years from then when you have even more resources and even more skills. But keep your anger piggy bank, because one of the great tragedies is when we stop getting angry at things like that. So it's actually a really good thing. It's beautiful. But you just don't want that anger to eat you. You want to be able to use it in a way where you can really bring about change. Okay? Good. Yeah, other questions?
My pranams, Guruji. Kumar from Malaysia. My question is, we've been hearing this word last couple of days. How is attachment and expectations are connected or interrelated, if is at all? Yeah. How can we reduce both expectation and attachments besides practicing our daily sadhanas? And how does ego play its role in this space? Thank you.
Great. Okay. Attachments, expectations, ego. Attachment. We were speaking recently about the difference between love and attachment. Attachment, and so much of this, I think, is around the English translation of Sanskrit terms, because to attach also means to connect. So in a way, in English at least, attachment can mean connection. Connection is great. We want to be connected. The problem where attachment as we mean it arises is when we actually start to suffocate the divine flow out of ourselves and out of the ones or the things we are attached to. The nature of nature is change. We hope it's growth and expansion and blossoming. But if we are attached, what we tend to do is we tend to literally exert a death grip onto some aspect of life. And it may be attachment to a specific person, which tends to manifest as contraction around that person. Love is expansion. Love is, I love you in your essence, in your soul, in the being of who you are. I may not enjoy how you're speaking to me. I may not approve of the way you're dressing or behaving, but my love is unwavering. Attachment is, I need you to behave a certain way, speak a certain way, be a certain way, in order for me, not only to love you, but for me to be okay in me. So attachment is me suffocating you, because that's the only way that I can access my love for you, and because that's the only way that I can feel okay in me. Now, the connection between attachment and expectation is that attachment arises from expectation. I expect that you will act the way I want, be the way that I want, do the things that I want. I expect that when I show up every day at work and punch my time card at 8 a.m. and I don't punch out again until 6 p.m. or even 7 p.m. and I work really hard and well all day long, I expect that my boss is going to notice. I expect that I'm going to get a raise, a promotion, at least some appreciation. And I then get attached to the outcome of that work. And this is where in the Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan Krishna gives us his, Bhagavad Gita 101 teaching around, you are only entitled to your actions, not to the fruits of them. Let go of the attachment to all of the fruits of your actions. Why? And this brings in ego. Why? Because it leads only to misery. We have no control over it. I have control over what time I punch in, what time I punch out, how hard I work. I have zero control over my boss's moods, my boss's preferences, my boss's vision of what he or she thinks is good work or not good work, whom he or she wants to promote or give a raise to. I have control over how I treat you and zero control over how you treat me. So to be attached is just to set ourselves up for misery. Because we have no control. It's handing over the reins, the switches, whatever metaphor works for you, of our internal peace, joy, freedom into the hands of someone or something over which I have no control. I am attached to it never raining on my birthday because I only like to celebrate my birthday with picnics. Well, depending on when your birthday is, you may be happy a lot of the time and miserable only a little bit of the time, it may be vice versa. But I guarantee you, regardless of which month your birthday is in, eventually you're going to have a day that it rains on it. Because we have no control. The weather doesn't say, oh, you were planning a picnic? Okay, then I won't rain. And this is the ego. The ego is that which believes that I have some right to control other people. But on an even, or the weather, or the traffic patterns, like how dare there be traffic? I have a plane to catch. There's never traffic. It's not fair. But the ego also, on a much deeper level, thinks that I need my expectations to be fulfilled in order for me to be okay. And so the ego, while it pretends to be our best friend, is actually selling us really short. Because the ego is the one that keeps telling us, it better happen, how dare he, how dare she. Because the ego keeps telling us we need that in order to be okay. If this doesn't happen, if this person doesn't do this or does that, I won't be okay. Well, the ego might not be okay, but you will be okay. And this is where freedom from the grip of the ego enables us to let go of our death grip on the world around us. And to realize, okay, I'm not fully beyond preferences yet. I would prefer it not to rain on my birthday because I have a picnic planned. And if it does, we're all going to be totally fine. We're going to go for coffee instead. Or on a deeper level, I was thinking that this person was going to live, think, be a certain way. They're not, or they're not right now. But I'm able to access my internal truth anyway. My boss appreciates my work, doesn't appreciate my work. Notices it, doesn't notice it, rewards it, doesn't reward it. The universe rewards it or doesn't reward it. I'm okay anyway. I don't need it to be okay. So that's a bit of the interaction. Does that help? Good. Other questions? Yes, in the back.
Hello, my name is Femke. Oh, I think I have to move it a little. And my question is how to feel more comfortable with taking up space and letting your light shine fully. I feel like many people, me included, are sometimes scared of taking up space and fear of being too much or also not good enough yet. What, for example, helps you to take up space and let your light be so bright?
Beautiful. Beautiful. First of all, isn't it a tragedy? Isn't it a tragedy that as these incredible beings, just take a moment and look at, forget the inside for a moment, take a moment and just look at this incredible being. All of you, just look at your bodies for a moment. Some of us are fat, some are thin, some are tall, some are short, some are darker, some are fairer, but we've got these extraordinary, amazing feats of divine creation. I think something, and this arm rises, how does that work? I forget to remember to breathe, but I breathe anyway. I drink this water. It nourishes me. And then what I don't need of it is going to come out a little bit later. I mean, what an amazing, amazing thing. If it weren't us, we would be putting this body on display and like taking it on a world tour. If we had invented this, like, look what I made. And you know what else it can do? You know what else it can do? You can put in junk and get energy. I mean, whoever would have thought that you could take something as much of a non-food item as like a milk dud or a sweet tart or a potato, or potatoes are kind of food, but like licorice, or I mean things that are just not food. But we could put them inside and get energy from it. I mean, you can't put sweet tarts in a car and generate energy. But this human body is so extraordinary. So it's such a tragedy that we've been so badly, awfully indoctrinated to believe that not only is it not extraordinary and worthy of being like given its own world tour to show, hey, look what I created. Look what's been handed to me. But that actually it doesn't even deserve to occupy its place. And I think it's a really deep and complex and beautiful question you've asked. I think the first step is a really deep acknowledgement, individually and also collectively, of how we've been indoctrinated to believe something that isn't true. How and where and how, how and where and through whom we were first taught that we don't deserve occupying space, because babies believe they do. Babies believe they are worthy of the universe. We have to be taught. Sit down, shut up, know your place. We have to be taught. Who do you think you are? Don't get too big for your britches. We've all been handed these teachings in different ways, based on language, culture, families of origin, educational systems. But we had to be taught that. And I think the first step is really to look the falsehood in the face. How did I learn it? Who told me that? What's the first time I can remember? And then what's the second time? Like really start to put together all of those times, those moments, the different people involved that have even given you the idea that you don't deserve to occupy your space, that you don't deserve to shine your light. Because once we do that, then we can look at it and realize, oh my God, that's not truth. That's not truth. This was given to me by my mother, my father, my brother, my sister, my teacher, a neighbor, an uncle, an aunt, whoever it was. In that moment, they were going through X, Y, or Z. They were like this. They were of this age. And we start to really be able to look at the source of our information. One of the things that's happening with the AI, fake news, all of this, is that a lot of us have gotten really primed and attuned to the idea of fake news. And we've started to hopefully get a little bit more aware of the fact that just because it's in my WhatsApp feed doesn't mean it's true. just because somebody sent me this video doesn't mean it's actually real. And we're developing a really healthy skepticism around the veracity of things that are being handed to us as facts and news. And we need to do this about what we take as facts in our own mind as well. Who sent it? Who taught me that? Are they a legitimate, believable, trustworthy source of information? And really notice it. Because I think that in and of itself has a huge role in setting us free, because we realize we've been lied to. I think the second piece is just actually taking risks in a new way of being. Okay, I now know I've been lied to. I know on an intellectual level that I deserve to take up space, that I deserve to shine my light. But I've spent my entire life of 20 years or 30 years or 50 years or 70 years believing otherwise. So it takes a little bit of courage, or a lot of courage, to actually start to act on truth. Take risks. Take them initially in situations where you'll be supported, in communities amongst people where you will be supported. But start to really know who you are. There's a beautiful, what we call mool mantra, like a foundational mantra, that says, Aham Brahmasmi. I am Brahman. I am inseparable from, indistinguishable from the supreme reality. Yeah, shine your light. Be the light. Because that is who you are. And to allow that mantra, or a simple version of it that's actually a really powerful mantra, it's one that I use a lot, is just Om Brahm. Om Brahm. Brahm meaning Brahman, the supreme. Om Brahm. And it's just a reminder there is nothing but this supreme reality. Om Brahm. Om Brahm. Om Brahm. Super powerful. And as you walk left, right, Om Brahm. As you breathe in, out, Om Brahm. And realize you are indistinguishable from that. Another really beautiful one that we use here in meditation a lot is So Hum. So Hum. I am that. I am that. Allow these mantras to just literally reverberate through you as you move through your day. You're brushing your teeth, right? So Hum, Om Brahm. Washing dishes, whatever you're doing. Allow the mantras to be going. And then take small, risky steps. And slowly, slowly let the steps get bigger. Let them get bigger, because as I share really frequently, I've never heard of anybody on their deathbed saying, God, I wish I had taken fewer risks. God, I wish I had played it safe more. God, I wish I had made the neighbors happier. But so many of us, I think, regret not having lived according to the truth of who we are, allowed ourselves to be indoctrinated allowed our lives to be co-opted quite literally by not necessarily people who intended us harm, but just people who were struggling in their own ways and gave us teachings and messages and impressions in our early childhood that aren't true and that have allowed us to keep ourselves suffocated and small. So yeah, just tell yourself the buck stops here. I will not believe this anymore. Beautiful. The last piece of that, because this is so pervasive, is as you're working that in your life, really consciously be a cheerleader, a support, a container for others to also step into their fullness and shine their light. Recognize and realize that almost everyone you meet is actually having the same experience that you are, because we are all so collectively indoctrinated, even though we come from all corners of the world and all different religions, and nonetheless, almost all of us, not all, but almost all of us have been indoctrinated in that same way. Stay small. Don't think too much of yourself. Don't shine too bright. You don't deserve it. You're not really as good as you think, the whole too big for your britches sort of thing. Or other people won't like you. We're given 100 reasons. But we need to really start being the cheerleaders for each other, the reflectors, the mirrors, the containers for each other. To see, to know, to manifest our truth. And by the way, that doesn't necessarily mean becoming some super, like high-powered or high wealth or high prestige person. Our light is not always a spotlight. The light may be the light of the apple vendor on the corner who sells the apples with such a smile and such a divine presence that he's doing God's work. We have beautiful stories in our scriptures. There's a statue right outside of Sant Raidas, who was a low-level cobbler and such an extraordinary Bach, the lover of the divine, and extraordinary, the wise being, a scholar. There's a whole other amazing story about him, but I won't go there. But the point being that it's like, it could be the apple seller, it could be the cobbler, it could be the first grade teacher, it could be the guy pumping gas at the gas station. It could be the gardener. But the one who is, in whatever capacity, sharing and spreading that light, that truth, in whatever they do. Because there's nothing small or low about creating gardens. Or, working in a kindergarten, or filling people's cars with gasoline and giving them a bit of a smile and an encouragement and a bit of wisdom as they go their way, whatever it is. So just make sure that when you think about shining your light, that you don't limit the possibilities of that light to just being a spotlight that gets shined onto you. Our light is that which we carry with us wherever we go. And it's the light through which we see ourselves and through which we help others see themselves. Beautiful. Yeah. Have a beautiful rest of your evening, everyone. A beautiful morning and day to our family joining us from all over the world. And I look so forward to being together tomorrow. And so much love to you all.